The last stretch is the hardest. Not because it is the most difficult in absolute terms. The middle was in many ways harder. The beginning was its own particular challenge. But because in the final stretch you know how far you have come. You can feel the distance traveled behind you like weight on your shoulders. The months of holding on, the choices that cost something, the faith that was practiced without confirmation, the patience that was demanded of you well past the point where patience felt reasonable. You have carried all of that to this point. And the carrying has produced a specific variety of exhaustion that is different from ordinary tiredness. It is the exhaustion of someone who is almost there without being certain they are almost there, who has been almost there before and discovered it wasn't the arrival they thought it was, who has learned through repeated experience to be careful about the feeling of almost, careful about the hope that lights up when something finally seems close, because that specific hope, lit up and then unmet, produces a particular kind of pain that you have had enough of. So you carry on with a careful hope, a managed hope, the kind that keeps you moving forward without letting you feel the full electricity of how close you actually are. I need you to stop protecting yourself from that electricity for the next 15 minutes. Because what is arriving in the next 24 hours is the rarest astrological event of the year, potentially of the decade, and you need to arrive at it charged rather than depleted, open rather than contracted, with your head up rather than bowed under the weight of the final stretch. You have come too far to let the last 24 hours be the thing that costs you the full reception of what tomorrow delivers. And tomorrow is delivering something that most people alive today will never see again. Let me tell you what is happening tomorrow with the full seriousness it deserves. Uranus Cazimi in Gemini arrives in 24 hours. And before I explain what that means for you specifically, I need you to understand what it means cosmically, because the rarity of this event is not astrological language deployed to create excitement. It is a simple, verifiable, this is how the planets actually move fact. Uranus takes approximately 84 years to complete one full orbit of the Sun. This means Uranus enters Gemini roughly once every 84 years. Once, in a full human lifetime. The last time Uranus was in Gemini was the 1940s, a period that produced one of the most radical revolutions in human communication and connection in recorded history. Before that, the mid-1800s. This is the generational transit, the one that happens so rarely that no living person has experienced it before in their current lifetime. Uranus entered Gemini recently, that transit you may have been tracking, the one whose beginning was treated with the significance it deserved. But within Uranus's journey through Gemini, there is one moment that stands apart from all others. The Cazimi, the moment when Uranus aligns exactly with the heart of the Sun. When the planet of liberation and radical change is not just in the sign of communication and new pathways, but is inside the Sun itself, infused with the Sun's full illuminating power, radiating the combined energy of Uranian liberation and solar revelation into the specific territory of Gemini, communication, connection, the pathways that did not previously exist. This Cazimi happens once during Uranus's entire 7-year journey through Gemini. Once. In 84 years, there is one Uranus Cazimi in Gemini, and it arrives tomorrow. This is not an ordinary astrological event wearing extraordinary language. This is genuinely, verifiably, in the actual mechanics of the solar system, one of the rarest alignments of the entire century. And you are alive for it. You have been doing the work through the period that built toward it, and it arrives in 24 hours. What does Uranus Cazimi in Gemini actually deliver? What does it mean in the specific, practical, this is my actual life terms of your experience? I want to answer this with the same seriousness with which I established the rarity, not with vague spiritual language, but with the concrete description of what this kind of energy produces in the real world. Uranus is the planet of liberation, revelation, and radical change. Not gradual change, not evolutionary change, not the change that accumulates imperceptibly over time and only becomes visible in retrospect. Uranian change is sudden. It is the door that was sealed becoming open, the path that did not exist appearing, the impossibility becoming the inevitable in a moment rather than over a process. Uranus creates the specific quality of before and after that reorganizes the landscape so completely that the before seems, from the after, like a different era entirely. When Uranus aligns with the sun in Cazimi, when it enters the sun's heart and is infused with the sun's power of illumination and revelation, that Uranian liberation becomes not just energetically available but cosmically delivered. The sun sees everything. Its light misses nothing. And what the sun illuminates through Uranus, Cazimi, and Gemini is specifically the territory of communication, connection, and new pathways, the channels through which people reach each other, the ways that minds connect, the specific openings through which opportunities travel. What this means for you is that tomorrow, a channel opens that has not been opened before and will not be open again in this form. A pathway appears in the specific landscape of your life that was not available yesterday. Something that you have been trying to reach through effort and patience and the ordinary mechanisms of sustained intention. Something that has felt close but sealed, possible but blocked, becomes suddenly, unexpectedly, through a completely unanticipated opening, not just possible but actually present. Uranus does not deliver through the door you have been watching. This is important to understand as you prepare for tomorrow. Uranian arrivals always come through unexpected channels. The direction you were not monitoring, the person you did not anticipate, the opening that appeared where you thought there was only wall. The Cazimi amplifies this quality to its maximum. Tomorrow's arrival comes through a pathway that the ordinary expectations of your ordinary life could not have predicted or prepared for, because Uranus specializes in the liberation that bypasses the limits of what you thought was possible. And Gemini, the sign of communication, connection, the movement of ideas and people and information between one point and another, means that this liberation arrives specifically through the channels of connection and communication. A message, a conversation, an encounter, a piece of information that arrives through the specific, human, this person said something to that person medium that Gemini governs. What Uranus, Cazimi, and Gemini delivers, it delivers through the channels between people, which means it requires a specific kind of openness to receive, the openness of someone who is available to be surprised by where the message comes from and who it connects them to. The last 24 hours before an event of this magnitude are not neutral. They matter in a very specific way, and I want to be clear about how they matter, because the practical wisdom of how to spend these hours is not complicated, but it is consequential. What Uranus, Cazimi, and Gemini delivers tomorrow, it delivers into whatever state it finds you in. The transit does not create its own reception conditions. It delivers through the reception conditions that exist when it arrives. And the reception conditions are determined by you, in the hours between now and then, by how much of the exhaustion contraction of the final stretch you have been able to release, by how much of the managed hope you have been able to expand back into genuine full-size, this is actually arriving expectation, by how open the channel in you is, how genuinely available you are in the specific hours of tomorrow to receive something through an unexpected pathway that you could not have predicted. This is not the work of forcing a state you don't feel. If the exhaustion is real, it is real. If the managed hope is what has been available, it has been what was available. The work of today is not to perform a different internal state, but to understand what is 24 hours away, clearly, specifically, with the full weight of what I have described about its rarity and its magnitude, and to let that understanding do what genuine understanding of something remarkable always does. It makes the exhaustion matter less than the anticipation. It makes the managed hope open back into the genuine variety. It makes it possible, even in the final stretch, to lift the head and turn toward what is coming rather than bowing under the weight of how long the coming has taken. You know what is arriving in 24 hours. Knowing that changes the quality of these final hours. The decision to let it change the quality, to allow the knowledge to produce the genuine, grounded, full-size expectation that tomorrow deserves, is the work of today. In specific terms, what the final 24 hours before Uranus Cazimi in Gemini most benefit from is the release of any remaining contraction. The last holdings on of the cautious hope. The final instances of the managed-down expectation that has been protecting you from the full-size version of what you actually want. Because what is arriving tomorrow is enormous. And enormous arrivals require the field to be open at the size of what is arriving, not at the carefully managed size that the exhaustion of the final stretch has been maintaining. This release looks different for different people. For some, it looks like giving themselves explicit permission today to want the full version of what they have been wanting, to hold the full-size vision rather than the safely reduced one. For some, it looks like saying out loud, even just to themselves, what they have been carrying in the guarded interior space of managed hope. I want this. I believe it is coming. I am ready for it to arrive tomorrow in a form I did not anticipate, and I am genuinely open to being surprised by the direction from which it arrives. For some, the release looks like doing something that expresses the genuine, full-size hope rather than the managed version. Sending the message that represents moving toward rather than staying carefully in place. Making the practical arrangement that assumes the arrival rather than hedging against it. Taking one action today that says, in the language of behavior rather than words, I believe tomorrow is delivering what I have been waiting for, and I am showing up as someone who is receiving something rather than as someone who is still waiting for something that might not come. This action, whatever specific form it takes in your circumstances, shifts the reception conditions for tomorrow. It says to the universe, in the language the universe responds to most clearly, I am ready. I am expanded to the size of what is coming. I am not contracted around the exhaustion of the final stretch. I am here, open, with my hands out and my head up, ready for Uranus Cazimi and Gemini to deliver through whatever unexpected channel it chooses. I want to be specific about the cost of not doing this, the cost of allowing the contraction of the final stretch to be the state in which tomorrow finds you. Not to frighten, but to motivate. Because the timing here is specific enough that the cost of the final stretch contraction is higher right now than it has been at any other point in the long period of waiting. You have been patient through an extraordinary arc of preparation. April cleared everything that needed to be cleared. The karmic claiming of Mars in Aries was made. The construction energy of Mars in Taurus is underway. The threshold of Mercury Cazimi in Taurus opened the physical crossing. All of this has been building to a specific point, and that point is tomorrow. The arc of preparation that has been underway has been building toward the specific delivery that Uranus Cazimi in Gemini makes available. To arrive at that delivery in a contracted state, still carrying the full weight of the final stretch, still maintaining the managed hope that was appropriate when the arrival was further away, but that is now the only thing standing between you and receiving at full capacity, would be the specific, painful, worst possible timing version of almost. The almost that was not a distance problem, but a state of reception problem. The almost where the thing arrived, and the receiver was not expanded to the size of what was delivered, and so received a diminished version of what was always meant to be enormous. This is not a reason for anxiety. It is a reason for the specific, motivated. This is the last 24 hours urgency of someone who understands what tomorrow holds and is determined to arrive at it ready. Not frantic. Ready. There is a significant difference. Ready is the calm expansion of genuine expectation. Ready is the head lifted and the hands open, and the genuine willingness to be surprised by the channel through which tomorrow's delivery arrives. The cruelest timing would be to contract now, in the final 24 hours before the rarest event of the year. Don't. You have come too far. This is the thing I most need you to hear, and I need you to hear it not as a comforting phrase, but as an accurate statement of your position. You have come through extraordinary territory to arrive at this moment. The clearing of April. The internal restructuring of the months before that. The holding on through the periods where holding on was the only thing available. The choosing of your worth and your standard and the genuine fullness of what you want when the convenient settling was always available and always less costly in the immediate term. That journey produced something. It built the specific version of you, the clearer, more honest, more genuinely ready version that Uranus Cazimi and Gemini delivers to tomorrow. The transit does not deliver to who you were at the beginning of the period. It delivers to who you became through it. And who you became is exactly the person the delivery was always meant to find. You have earned the arrival. Not in the transactional, I did the work therefore I deserve the reward sense, but in the more fundamental sense of having genuinely, through the arc of the preparation, become the person who can receive what is coming and do something real with it, who can hold what arrives at its full size rather than trying to manage it into something less threatening, who can step through the unexpected door that Uranus opens without hesitating at the threshold because the opening came from an unexpected direction. That person is you. And tomorrow, in the rarest astrological alignment of the year, possibly of the decade, they get what they have been preparing for. 24 hours. That is all that separates you from the arrival of something that happens once in a lifetime. Once. In 84 years, this alignment occurs once. And you are alive for it. You are positioned for it. You have been doing the work that positions someone to receive from it. Keep your head up through the final stretch. Release the last contraction. Expand the managed hope back to the full-size version of what you actually genuinely, in the deep and unguarded truth of what you want, have been waiting for. Move toward tomorrow rather than just waiting for tomorrow to arrive. And when Uranus Cazimi in Gemini opens its channel and delivers through an unexpected direction, when the message comes from someone you didn't expect, or the door opens where you thought there was only wall, or the thing that was impossible reveals itself as suddenly inevitable, receive it at full size. With your head up, with your hands fully open, with the specific, earned, absolutely justified expectation of someone who stayed in the game long enough to arrive at the rarest event of the year. Tomorrow it arrives. 24 hours. Stay ready. You have come too far to stop now. And what is coming has been making its way to you for longer than you know. Tomorrow it finds you. Keep going.